Special thanks to Tokyo Treat and Sakurako for sponsoring today's video. Before we get started, there'll be spoilers for the 1000-year Blood War arc of Bleach and the light novel Can't Fear Your Own World in the video to come. While the Soul King remains one of Bleach's greatest mysteries to this day, the 1000-year Blood War arc anime has been slowly unravelling this enigmatic figurehead, even going so far as to reveal his true name, Adnias. The truth is that while much of Adnias' existence is still shrouded in secrecy, we actually do know a fair bit about him and his position, including even getting a glimpse at his original home, the Primordial Sea. One of the biggest questions I had in the wake of the manga ending in 2016 was, well, who's the Soul King now? Wasn't that what this was all about? The series ends with Ichigo killing Yhwach, but at that point in the story, Yhwach was effectively the new Soul King, so upon his death the worlds should have begun to collapse once more just as he wanted, but clearly that didn't happen as we skip ahead 10 years, and an answer was never given. That was until Can't Fear Your Own World arrived. Now, I've praised the light novel in the past, particularly for its prologue, which acts as a wholly necessary direct continuation of the 1000-year Blood War arc, and in this prologue, we discover the truth of the sinister machinations that were unfolding behind the scenes of the 1000-year Blood War arc, as well as the truth of who became the new Soul King after the war, the new linchpin, doomed to forevermore hold the worlds in place to keep the status quo intact. The concept of a Soul King candidate, someone fit to potentially replace the Soul King in the event of his death, was a nebulous one in the manga itself, one that was never truly explored. And while Ichibe Hyosobe was always painted as a central yet untrustworthy character whose motivations were never clear, someone who seemed almost to be the keeper of the Soul King himself, that too was never explored any further in the manga, outside of a tenuous connection to Yhwach and an overall ominous presence to the character. We knew he wanted to see Yhwach's plan fail, and he wanted to use Ichigo to that end, but we never really knew or understood any more than that. And of course, the reality of this character and his goals was much darker than we could have guessed, something the 1000-year Blood War arc anime has thankfully greatly expanded upon. And so in today's video, I want to take a look at every character who is a supposed Soul King candidate, someone who could potentially take the place of the Soul King in the event of his death, and some of the less than savoury schemes happening in the background to potentially make this happen, to make it a reality concocted by those determined to keep the worlds turning in the event of the worst case scenario, a scenario that does end up happening, including sacrificing Ichigo himself. Let's take a look. Before we get started on the video, guys, if you enjoyed what you see today and you haven't yet done so already, consider hitting subscribe. Perhaps you're new here, or maybe you haven't yet hit subscribe. Either way, your support would be greatly appreciated, and it does go a very long way in helping to support the channel. So, to begin, what actually is a Soul King candidate? What does a person need to be in order to potentially take the place of the Soul King himself? Unsurprisingly, it's a pretty exclusive position with a fairly high bar of entry. Interestingly, though, it's not a question of pure power, though that does come into it. Instead, it's seemingly more about genetic makeup than anything else, in order to find a person capable of replicating, of being closest to what Ryo himself actually was. In the novel Can't Fear Your Own World, it's revealed that the Soul King is in fact the progenitor of Shinigami, Quincy, and Fullbringers, and so in order to become the new Soul King in the future, it's generally accepted that a being needs to be a hybrid of multiple races, someone who has transcended beyond the natural state. This leaves us with only a scant few characters who can become candidates: Ichigo Kurosaki, Ginjo Kugo, and the light novel character Hikone Ubuginyu. Sosuke Aizen likely could have become a Soul King candidate, and perhaps even was for a time, using the Hogyoku to artificially transcend, to artificially break the barriers, and become a hybrid being that was on a different plane to other people. But he has since lost his hybrid nature, and has been stripped of those evolutions as of the end of Deicide. At least in my opinion, Aizen is now a pure Shinigami once again, albeit an immortal and extraordinarily powerful one. It's tough because there's clearly more to the equation than just being a hybrid. If that were all it took, then every Vizard and Rankar would be a Soul King candidate too, and that's clearly not the case. No, it seems being a hybrid is only a part of the puzzle. You need to be a hybrid with the potential to transcend beyond all others, and I wonder if that means harbouring the powers of 3 or more of the races specifically. Outside of strange, unnatural methods like the Hogyoku, of course, which is almost like a cheat code to transcendence. But as we'll see in this video, it is absolutely possible as well for pure beings, beings that represent only one single race, to become a Soul King candidate, so long as they have specific, often unique means to achieve it. And so, in fact, we may as well start right there, with the one character who did actually become the new Soul King in the wake of the war, Yhwach. So yes, Yhwach is the current Soul King as of the end of the 1000-Year Blood War arc. Although he is killed by Ichigo, he doesn't technically die per se. His unique constitution at the time, his unique makeup, the fact that we've seen before that he kind of exists in a weird liminal space as far as the cycle of rebirth is concerned, allows him to keep on living in a kind of suspended animation, and what's left of him is then sealed away by Ichibei, doomed to live out the same humiliation that his father once did. And I have to wonder if this kind of in-between space between life and death, this kind of liminal, almost comatose situation Yhwach finds himself in, is the exact same fate that befell him when Yamamoto essentially killed him 1,000 years ago. Of that, I'm not entirely sure because it's never been explained or outright confirmed, and it's an answer I'm hoping to get in Core 4. But this does feel like a fitting, if almost sadistically brutal end for the Quincy King. Due to his last-minute decision to absorb his father's power and become the Soul King's stand-in, Yhwach effectively doomed himself to a lifetime of subjugation and humiliation, the same that he sought to free his father from. Yhwach is definitely a weird one, and interestingly the only character on this list that doesn't really fit the set-out preordained requirements to become a Soul King candidate, yet he worked all the same. Why? It goes beyond him simply being the Soul King's son, which, by the way, we still don't really know what that means or how that works. The anime has alluded to Yhwach having an actual mother of sorts, but again, that's something I'm hoping is explained in Core 4. But, as far as we know, Yhwach was just a Quincy. He wasn't a transcendent being prior to absorbing his father's power. I say just a Quincy in quotation marks because he was clearly immensely powerful, but even so, he still would have been defeated by the likes of Yamamoto during the first invasion, for example. But what gives Yhwach the edge? What gives him the ability to become a Soul King candidate is his own innate power of the Almighty, which again I guess he did inherit from his father, but specifically the ability to freely take power. As a result of this, Yhwach was able to steal even his father's power, and was mostly strong enough to contain it, though a vast ocean of the Soul King's power overflowed from Yhwach as a surplus, meaning that although Yhwach clearly transcends his old self and attains his father's position, he's definitely still not as strong as the Soul King was during his own prime. He's kind of like a Soul King light, it would seem, in a sense, which still makes him the strongest character in the Bleach universe at the time. So it's interesting. In the manga, it really is a vindictive, last-minute decision by Yhwach to steal Ryo's power out of spite, after the right arm turns against him. In the moment, Yhwach can't fathom why a portion of his father's soul would want to kill him, and so enraged, he steals his father's power, becoming the new Soul King, and in doing so, this dooms him to this fate upon death. The anime, however, does neaten this all somewhat, making it clear that taking his father's power was always part of the plan, and is necessary to collapse the three worlds back into one again. So that's how Yhwach becomes a Soul King candidate despite being a pure being. He has the ability to steal power, and the strength necessary to lock most of his father's power down, allowing him to transcend. Not only that, but Yhwach also steals Ichigo's hollow powers, or at least some of them, at the end of the 1000-Year Blood War arc as well, clearly assimilating them into his Soul King-like self. And so that's Yhwach then, at least as far as Soul King candidates are concerned. Before we move on to the rest of the candidates, first a word from today's sponsor. Bask in the summer sun atop Mount Fuji and experience the flavors of Japan's trendiest neighborhood this month with Tokyo Treat and Sakuriko's latest snack subscription boxes. So let's take a look at what's in store. Tokyo Treat is an exclusive monthly snack box that delivers the latest treats from Japan straight to your door. This month, Tokyo Treat's theme is Harajuku Snack Venture, and the box is absolutely full of eclectic, colourful, and bold snacks designed to transport you straight to the streets of Tokyo's most fashionable district, with snacks including fruity fizz gummies, mega marshmallow stick, and of course these cookies and cream Kit Kats. So of course we're going to crack out the Kit Kats first and foremost. I do love cookies and cream flavour. In fact, this entire Tokyo Treat box this month is very up my street. Plus, I'd be remiss in not introducing you to the Mega Marshmallow Stick, which has a very cute sheep adorning the top of it. There it is, that's a cookies and cream Kit Kat right there. Let's dive right in. It is absolutely boiling here, so these summertime treats and snacks are very much on theme, to be honest. It is melting in my hands, but it is very nice as well, so it's just an excuse to finish it faster, I think. Next up, let's dive into that Mega Marshmallow Stick. So yes, the aforementioned Mega Marshmallow Stick, this thing is pretty mega, it's living up to its name. I do love the sheep on the top. It's gonna feel kind of bad eating him, but he knows what he got himself in for. Meanwhile, Sakuriko's theme this month is Mount Fuji Summertime, inviting you to celebrate Japan's most iconic natural symbol. The snacks found in this month's box are cherry-picked from the region's Mount Fuji watches over, and they include Mount Fuji Kohokuto, Amo Strawberry Dorayaki, and a matcha Genmaicha tea that pairs perfectly with these flavours. This may very well be my favourite tableware item design we've ever had. This is really, really awesome. Very nice indeed. Look at that, it even says made in Japan on the back. First up, we've got what looks to be a chocolate wafer of some kind. Let's dive right in. I'm probably already going to like this. Chocolate's very much my thing. It kind of tastes like fruit. Like melon, maybe? Let's consult the booklet and find out for sure. And of course, each box comes with a cultural booklet that features snack descriptions, allergen information, and of course some insights into the cultural theming of the month's boxes. For example, this time it is the views of Mount Fuji. Would you look at that? My taste buds don't lie. Chocolate and plain crown melon wafers. Spot on. They do taste like chocolate and they do taste like melon. Finally, we'll close out with the tried and true favourite, the strawberry dorayaki. Let's dive in. You know what? It looks like red bean paste, but it is actually strawberry, and it's very nice. But that about does it for July's boxes. As always, I want to say a big thank you to Tokyo Treat and Sakuriko for supporting the channel each month. It really does mean a lot. Enjoy the tastes of the fashion-forward Harajuku and celebrate the enduring legacy of Mount Fuji from the comfort of your own home by following the link in the description or the pinned comment down below for an exclusive offer of $5 off of your first order. Thanks everyone, and enjoy. Okay, but after the actual Soul King himself, we have 3 candidates who were waiting in the wings. Or 2 of them were anyway, one of them didn't actually arrive until after the 1000-Year Blood War arc. But first up is perhaps the most consequential Soul King candidate of them all, and the one who came dangerously close to being subjected to that fate for the rest of time. None other than Ichigo Kurosaki himself. Ichigo is the Soul King candidate who, unfortunately for him, makes the clearest sense out of the gate. He is the only character in Bleach who is a naturally occurring hybrid of every single race, making him the closest approximation to what Adnias himself was believed to be. Though even Adnias didn't seem to have any innate connection to Hollows at all, though as the progenitor of the Fullbringers, he must have done in some form. Ichigo's father was a Shinigami, and a noble one at that, while his mother was both a human and a Quincy. Masaki was attacked and infected by Hollow Reiatsu before Ichigo was born, specifically by an experimental hollow designed to transmit hollowification, and so that seeped into Ichigo too. Plus, with his mother attacked by a hollow before birth, Ichigo also became a Fullbringer. This is how Ichigo is able to go even beyond the plane of existence a transcendent Aizen found himself on, and how in the Thousand Year Blood War arc anime, Ichigo was capable of shattering the Soul King's bonds. Because he's the same hybrid being. A really nice little detail that I was glad to see them add in. The idea of Ichigo being used as a Soul King replacement was never explicitly mentioned in the manga, but it was referenced. In chapter 546, when visiting Ichigo's friends in the real world, Kyoraku makes several sinister allusions to the fact that the Soul Society may be forced to keep Ichigo imprisoned in the spiritual world after he returns from the royal palace due to the nature of the power he may have obtained, but of course that never came to pass and was never brought up again. However, in Can't Fear Your Own World's prologue, Kyoraku and Ichibei discuss the potential future that could have been, with Kyoraku noting that he was glad they didn't have to subject Ichigo to that same terrible fate that has now befallen Yhwach, while Ichibei seemed completely unmoved by the idea of silencing the boy forever. The thing is, if Yhwach had killed his father without absorbing his power, and Ichigo had then killed Yhwach, the world would have still needed a Soul King, and that's when Ichibei would have stepped in to seal away Ichigo instead. Ichibei was setting Ichigo up all along as a break glass in case of emergency option, and this is explicitly shown to us in the anime thanks to the new Irazu Sandor segment, which is one of the biggest new lore inclusions the anime has given us. In Core 2 of the anime, Ichigo's training with Ichibei is revealed. He walks a special path that, while it is powering him up, unbeknownst to him, is designed to test a vessel to see if they are capable of containing the power of Ryo himself, even going so far as to show Ichigo flashes of Ryo's fate, as if to enlighten him to the burden that accompanies this terrible knowledge and strength. Although the power almost overwhelms Ichigo, he manages to withstand it, and Ichibei smirks, knowing he's found his potential vessel, should everything go awry. Then we have what I'd say is maybe the most perplexing candidate of the bunch, and that's Ginjo Kugo. So here's the thing with Ginjo. In regards to the cast of the manga, he is absolutely the character closest to Ichigo in terms of his hybrid nature, which is kind of the point. He's a human who acquired Shinigami powers exactly like Ichigo, and his mother was attacked by a hollow before he was born, exactly like Ichigo, giving him innate hollow powers as well as making him a Fullbringer. The biggest difference between the two of them is that Ginjo doesn't have any Quincy power whatsoever, meaning he's not a complete hybrid like Ichigo is, he's one step short. And I'll be honest, I feel like having a Quincy connection is vastly more crucial to being a Soul King candidate than having Hollow Reiatsu. The thing with Ginjo though, and what muddies the waters even further, is that he is also similar to Yhwach, in that he has the very valuable ability to steal power. He quite literally steals the ability to use bankai from Ichigo in their final fight, so it's definitely possible that Ginjo also stole some Quincy Reiatsu from Ichigo as well, even though Ichigo's Quincy power hadn't actually awoken by that point yet. Either way, that's pure speculation on my part. But the thing with Ginjo that confuses me the most, though, is that even if he did steal Quincy power from Ichigo, and therefore was a perfect hybrid of all the races, I don't feel like he is anywhere near powerful enough to be the Soul King. It's clear that while power isn't everything, as I noted at the top of the video, it still absolutely plays a role, as you still have to be strong enough, innately, to hold the worlds in place and regulate the flow of souls, and I'm not sure Ginjo is that powerful. Characters like Ichigo, like Yhwach, like Aizen are at the absolute pinnacle of power in the world of Bleach, and while Ginjo is very strong, don't get me wrong, Ichigo does totally dominate him in their fight, even after Ginjo has absorbed some of his power. So if you were to place Ginjo onto Irazu Sandor, would he be able to withstand the Soul King's crushing power? Maybe, just simply because of his unique makeup, but in terms of pure ability, I'd have to say I don't think so. It's also revealed in Can't Fear Your Own World that the Soul King's nails are embedded in every Fullbringer, so maybe that's acting as a substitute for Ginjo's missing Quincy power, though again, that's total speculation and never mentioned anywhere. In fact, I'm not convinced the nails have anything to do with being a candidate whatsoever, just like I don't think being a Soul King's body part is akin to being a fitting replacement either. So it kind of seems like Ginjo being a Soul King candidate is based purely on the fact that he's a hybrid of Shinigami, Human, and Fullbringer, and his actual power level isn't taken into account at all, which is interesting. Maybe that hybrid nature is all it takes. And then finally we have the Soul King candidate who originated from the light novels, Hikone, who is actually one of the more straightforward ones, as their entire character was engineered to be a replacement Soul King by the novel's main villain, Tokinada. Hikone is an artificial soul created by the combined efforts of Seinosuke Yamada and Ora Michibane, a perfect yet inorganic hybrid formed by layering thousands upon thousands of different souls atop one another from all the races of Bleach. Shinigami, Quincy, Human, Fullbringer, and even the brain of Gremi Thomo, which has been hinted as being, though never explicitly confirmed, a piece of the Soul King himself. As a result of their Frankenstein nature, Hikone is capable of wielding various powers from each of the different races, in a way similar to Ichigo, though even more explicitly, even going so far as to show a mastery of these disparate powers to combine the various powers and abilities, such as empowering their Hiero, an innate Rankar ability, with Blute Vein, a Quincy ability, to strengthen their defenses even further. Hikone is capable of using Sero, as well as high-speed regeneration and other hollow abilities, while also manipulating Reishi like a Quincy, even going so far as to form a Heilig Borgin to shoot arrows at their enemies. Designed specifically to emulate what Ichigo achieved naturally, Hikone is like a fast-tracked version of a Soul King candidate, and in some ways feels like perhaps the most clear-cut form of what a Soul King candidate should be able to do, seemingly having more free-form control over their vast array of powers than even Ichigo, as Hikone was engineered specifically for this, meaning he can kind of use them out the gate, whereas over the course of the manga we see Ichigo slowly coming to grips with his vast array of abilities, like being able to inherently use Blute Vein, and much later in the final arc, combining the likes of Getsuga Tensho and Granrei Sero. And so that's it for the Soul King candidates, a really cool piece of lore that hasn't been explored much yet outside of the supplementary material, but we've definitely started to see more of it being threaded into the narrative thanks to the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime, and I'm hopeful that Core 4 will give us even more. Honestly, as I've said before, I would absolutely love for Core 4 to adapt the Can't Fear Your Own World prologue too, but I'm not sure we'll get that lucky. Alright everyone, that's it for today's video. As always, I really do hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you took something of value away from it as well. What do you think about the lore and the concept of Soul King candidates? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. What is it about characters like Ginjo that makes him a candidate? Is it just exclusively his hybrid nature, or is there more to it as well? Which of the Soul King candidates do you think would make the best Soul King overall? And do you think Aizen is still a potential Soul King candidate, or has he kind of lost that ability ever since the Deicide arc? To be honest, I'm not sure being the Soul King is really something he would like to be, but I mean, who knows? Alright everyone, once again, thank you so very much for watching. Remember to hit subscribe if you haven't done already. Consider checking out Mr. Tomo Talks Games and supporting that channel as well. It really could use your help, and it does mean the absolute world to me. And as always, a massive thank you and an everlasting shout out goes out to my wonderful supporters over on Patreon, whose support really does make the channel tick. It really does help an enormous amount. Everyone whose name is appearing on the credits right now, your support does mean the absolute world to me, and you too can get your name in the credits and get videos completely free of YouTube ads by supporting me over on Patreon. It really does mean the absolute world. Okay everyone, once again, thank you so very much for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you later, and I'll see you then.